It's Public Radio Music Day at WMOT Roots Radio and across the country. And I'm Jessie Scott. Of course, we have had an amazing day of artists coming by, just populating our new stage at Riverside Revival. We started with Brendan McMillan in the 9 o'clock hour. At noon, we had Andrew Leahy. At 3 o'clock, Rosie Flores. And Drew Holcomb is with us now. It's so great to see you.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled. This is a beautiful new space.
Isn't this great?
Yeah,
is this your first time here?
It is, yeah.
So, we're in a church.
Yep.
And we do a lot of shows in the...
I've done a show, the Wired In show, downstairs, but I haven't been up here.
Yeah. Well, this is brand new.
Yeah.
And we're very excited to have it. And having something in East Nashville has been a goal for us because there's so many artists.
Yeah, it's such a hotbed.
Walk in and say, hey, I live 5 minutes. I could walk here.
I do live like 5 minutes away. I wasn't 5 minutes away. That's why I was a little late. My daughter had a soccer game south of town, but I'm here now.
Nice. Well, I live south of town.
Okay, we'll trade. We'll trade. Yeah, you can get stuck in the traffic on the way home.
Oh, thank you.
I was stuck in it on the way here.
It's so crazy. Traffic is so crazy. And we love being able to kind of be the oasis in the crazy when you're sitting on I-24 attempting to get somewhere. I-40 coming into town to see a show.
Turn on WMOT and
just chill.
Chill. That's right.
Be like at one with the universe of it.
Yes.
Which is the reason why, during this fund drive, we ask for people to step up and become members to keep the music playing, to keep the oasis going. And you can do that either online at WMOT.org or by phoning 615-898-2800. But there's so much going on with you.
Yeah, we got a lot going on.
I'm just so in awe of kind of the cottage industry vibe that you create around your music and family. And I want to talk some about kind of how that all got started and how it's evolved.
Yeah, I think it's always been a little bit organic and accidental. I mean, even my band name started minutes from here. My then drummer had a house over here on Lytton, and we would go rehearse in his upstairs attic. And at the time, it was just me. I'd put out a solo record in 2005, 2006, and started playing with the same guys over and over again. Some of whom I had started playing with in Memphis, my hometown, before I moved here. And I said, we need to let's make a record, but I want y'all to play on it, and we got to be a band. What's our band name? And I said, well, we all live right here. The neighbors. That's it. Naming a band is very hard. There's only a few good ones that have ever happened. But there's something about music that always, for me, was about this sort of great tension between strangers and community, and I was very attracted to live music as starting in 9th, 10th grade, and you look around a room full of people you don't know. And you're all singing the same song, or there's just something sort of magical that was happening. Meanwhile, like what you guys do on the radio, you soundtrack people's sort of everyday mundane moments, but then that becomes sort of an internalized part of their community, right? And so, music did that for me, and so I think it just sort of happened that's what happened on the road with my band, and then eventually we added some crew and. Go in the studio, the same people every time. Made records with the same group of guys in my band for a long time, and gals as well. My wife Ellie was a part of the band for a long time, and anyways, it's just always been sort of this natural. Come one, come all, come participate in what we're doing, and turned into things like a festival and a record club, and doing a bunch of things I didn't know what I was signing up for, and some of it was really fun, and some of it was really hard, and you know what I'm talking about. You guys are building something here.
Well, and you made your own way too, which is so interesting to me. It's sort of the indie spirit, of like not asking, the major label and having whatever that means, and but being able to figure out a way to do it yourself and do it organically is really like such a such a North Star for so many people now.
Well, it's interesting because it started, I wanted to be signed to a label, but I was making music that didn't fit any particular thing. This is like, 20 years ago when Americana was just getting sort of its legs, not necessarily musically. There had been people making Americana music, obviously, for generations, but as a sort of organized voice. And it's been really fun for me to sort of see that happen in real time as we're making records and as our career has been growing for 20 years. But yeah, doing it myself, doing my own label. I mean, we've had some partners along the way, but it's always been deals where we've still owned our rights, and that's been very important to me. And when I moved to town, I had so many people tell me, you got to go write with all the country writers, and and I would do it, and I would go, man, I just hated that. I had this idea that I loved, and now we wrote this song that I can't stand.
Well, the other part for me, too, is making an appointment to go be creative.
Yeah.
It's hard,
It is hard.
Strikes
It
you
is
when
hard.
it comes. I mean,
Yeah.
the muse is going to tell you what it needs
Yeah.
to tell you when it wants
I will
to.
say now that I'm older, though, with kids, I collect all those muses and
Yeah.
just put them in like a notebook and on voice memos, and then I'll say, okay, Thursday I'm blocking the whole day. I'm turning my phone off, and I'm going to work at it. And the muse tends to find its way back to me when I write. But the people who write like 2 songs a day for 4 days straight, I can't imagine how you would stay sort of true to yourself in the middle of that. Now, I know there are plenty of them that do, and there's I have mad respect for lots of folks in that world. But again, to your original question, that wasn't my home. My home was writing my own songs, recording with my own band, and making fans sort of one show at a time.
I like kind of how your footprint traverses Tennessee.
For sure. Yeah. Born and raised in Memphis. Yeah, I went to school in Knoxville, where I really started playing shows for the first time. And then back to Memphis, then back to Knoxville, and then here. So as a Memphian, I sort of was pretty hesitant about moving to Nashville. I mean, we're sort of raised to have a chip on our shoulder about this town. Some of it's overblown. Some of it, looking back, I was like, yeah, those are some pretty fair, But East Nashville had a spirit that reminded me of home.
Yeah.
An independent spirit, a little bit of a healthy chip on the shoulder.
And the other part is the belly of the beast, of
Yep.
the country music machine,
Yep.
which, is sort of has a life of its own, shall we say.
Yeah.
And just keeps rolling along.
It does.
To
and
be
it
able to
churns
make
up a
your
lot of
own
people.
music, is really the goal here.
Yeah, it is the goal.
And the goal for us.
And to do it for a long period of time has been a real icing on the cake for me. I mean,
For sure.
I certainly started to do this thinking, if I get lucky, maybe I could. This is back when before Third and Lindsley had expanded. I thought, if I get lucky, maybe someday I could sell out Third and Lindsley, which held 280 people at the time. And that was my original goal.
Wow.
I was like, if I could do that, man, that's it. I made it. So people are like, how long did you dream about playing the Ryman before you played there? I'm like, I didn't have that kind of courage to dream about playing the Ryman, And now it's wild because we've probably played there. I think I've headlined 10 times, and it's just like, wow, this is so weird.
I love, too, how many people we play that are playing the Ryman and selling it out and doing multiple nights. And, that is a real coming of age. That didn't used to happen.
Yeah, that's right. And, I mean, we have, like, the sort of the people who paved the way for that were really, like, obviously Emmylou was, like, the main – she saved the Ryman.
Yeah.
And she's, like – she's the matriarch of this whole roots Americana world.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Ryman is obviously, the Mecca.
Yeah. Drew Holcomb is our guest here for Public Radio Music Day at WMOT Roots Radio. Would you play something for us?
I would love to. I would love to tell a quick story before I play the song. Speaking of the Ryman, we've done the Opry many times, both at the big headquarters, but also when they do the winter Opry at the Ryman. And the second time we did it was at the Ryman, and Vince Gill was the MC that night and introduced us. And fast forward to last night, and I played the Opry, and he was there, and he jumped up and played and sang this song with us. And he actually was on the record on this song too. So it's a song called Green Light, and I'll dedicate it to the legendary Vince Gill. The song goes like this.
I'm a stranger in paradise. I'm off traveling with my band. I'm a gypsy-hearted troubadour where the road don't ever end. She's the compass in my bones. She points me home again. My baby, she's a green light. Ain't never seen a stop sign. Umbrella in a rainstorm. Cup of coffee when the morning comes. She's the chorus of my favorite song. Smiles when I get the words wrong. Wildflower on the sunny side. My baby, she's a green light. I'm a schemer and I'm a believer. And those who know me understand that I'm a hard-headed dreamer. I got plans for all my plans. And when the ship has lost its way, she's a tide that pulls me in. My baby, she's a green light. Ain't never seen a stop sign. Umbrella in a rainstorm. Cup of coffee when the morning comes. She's the chorus of my favorite song. Smiles when I get the words wrong. Wildflower on the sunny side. My baby, she's a green light. My baby, she's a green light. And when I'm feeling down and low, and when the road is long and slow, she shines, she shines, shines, shines. My baby, she's a green light. Ain't never seen a stop sign. Umbrella in a rainstorm. Cup of coffee when the morning comes. She's a chorus of my favorite song. Smiles when I get the words wrong. Wildflower on the sunny side. My baby, she's a green light. My baby, she's a green light. Yeah, my baby, she's a green light.
Green Light, Drew Holcomb, along with Vince Gill on that song. And the first time I heard that on the radio, 'cause obviously we're playing it, I was like, wow, that's a country song.
I wrote a country
You
song.
did.
With the help of Lori McKenna, I will say.
Oh,
she
I
helped
mean,
me on that one.
She's genius.
She's the best. Yeah.
So great. So, and there's a new record.
Yeah. I've had this problem this year of sort of too much music. So we put out Strangers No More in 23, but we had really made 2 records. So we put out Volume 2 about 2 months ago with 10 new songs. And then this summer, my wife and I, who used to collaborate a ton and then have basically been sort of running parallel careers for a decade, we wrote and recorded an entire duets record. So yeah, we just put out a new song with that. The rest of that will come out in January, and we're doing 30 shows in the first quarter. So
Yeah, I saw that song drop today, and we'll play that as our Monday Local
sweet.
Brew Daily,
Thank you. Yeah.
just so you know.
Yeah, thank you.
To the world. Yeah, we, I mean, it's hard to keep up with you.
Well, I made this thing where I did all these the festival and this record club and all this I had these entrepreneurial things I was doing sort of pre-COVID, and in COVID, I just decided, you know what, I like writing, recording, and playing, so I'm gonna move all this other stuff off to the sidelines. And my team is like, oh wow, we got a lot. We're making a lot of music. We're making a lot of records. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm only recording about half of what I'm writing.
Whoa.
But it's like something about this era for me has just made me really want to write a lot, want to record a lot, and I've found these parts of my voice, and my band feels like it's sort of clicking on all these different levels. And so we're in our, to steal from Taylor Swift, we're in our Willie Nelson era of putting out a record every 9 months.
It seems more often than that, but
Yeah, totally.
So it is Public Radio Music Day, and I did want to ask what public radio airplay has meant to you through the years.
Well, first off, I would say even before I was ever played on the radio, if you go into any car I've ever owned, number one is going to be wherever I lived is going to be the local, public radio music station. It felt like always a place where my tastes would it was good soil for my musical tastes. Well, I don't know about that. What's that? There's a jazz show in the morning, or there's a an interview with somebody playing live, or there's a rock show in the afternoon. There's all sorts of. It was like there's just a great sort of spirit of discovery for me as a fan on public radio. And then once I started making music, to our earlier conversation, I didn't have a prayer without a label of getting on these big commercial stations. And so I would pound the pavement everywhere I went to. At the time we were doing coffee shops and bars and, anywhere that would host us, and we would try to get to go talk to the local public radio station. And we've made friends and fans all over the country, and really all over the world, because I find a lot of people also tune in online and stream public radio from the U.S., ex-U.S. So it's just it's a part of our family. We wouldn't be where we are without public radio. It's given our songs an audience, and we're sort of eternally grateful for that.
Since you mentioned family, of course, I had the aha moment when it came on TV. How did that happen? How did you get a song placement like that?
That's besides public radio, the major other way we've found fans besides touring is through TV and film. And for whatever reason, I've never really written for TV. I've maybe written 2 songs ever that were sort of, hey, we're doing this show. We'd love for you to try to write something for it. I've been sent those things 100 times, but I've never really done it because it always kind of felt, just didn't really feel like me. But for whatever reason, my songs, my voice, I don't know what it is, but the records, the way they sound, they've always found a pretty good home on TV and on commercials. And so the one of the big ones for us was we had a Super Bowl ad with Ford, family. Yeah. People get in their trucks and cars to go watch football or whatever. It's always so interesting. The most sort of beautiful one for me, I had my daughter who's now 11. When she was 1 year old, it was right before we put out a record called Medicine. And there was a song on the record called American Beauty. And my management team was already had sent it to people who had used our stuff in TV and film before. And anyways, Dick's Sporting Goods decided to use this song. And it's like, the song's about like first love, heartbreak. I'm like, why is a sporting goods? What in the world is this for? So I was like, sure, but why not? They're going to help us pay for the whole promotion thing on the record. Let's do it. So they send me the first cut of it, and it's basically a dad giving his daughter a basketball goal on Christmas Day. It's snowing, and then it fast forwards real quick, and they're playing together, and then it fast forwards again, and she's playing against her boyfriend, and then it kind of goes through all these things in the cul-de-sac with the basketball goal, and the line of the song says, I wish I'd held her longer, I wish I'd held her long. And right as he says that, he's hugging the mom, and the kid's driving away to college. And I have a 1-year-old daughter at the time. I'm like, this is not fair. I'm crying. I'm like, I got to go buy a basketball goal. But it was interesting for me artistically because I didn't write the song about that. But now the song has that sort of daughter piece of the narrative. That's the cool thing. Jeff Tweedy used to talk about, when you put out music, you're not really in charge of how people absorb it, receive it, and what it means to them. And that's been a very interesting thing with songwriting for me, because people might say, I love this song, and it's my favorite song about it. I think about my grandfather, and I'm like, well, that's not what it's about at all, but sure, whatever. That's you do you.
It's magical.
It is magical.
Yeah. I actually, when you were talking before, I was thinking about a non-verbal bit of music that I enjoyed earlier this year at the Grand Canyon at sunset, and people were blowing conch shells.
Oh, cool.
And we were all gathered, and it was just this really spiritual, everybody watching the sun go down moment.
Connected to the millennia right there.
Just feeling this vibration of this, rudimentary music.
Yeah.
It was so perfect.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
We love that music can touch people in every way and create whatever emotion and be there to be joyous or be there to mourn or anything in between,
It's a really good friend.
Yeah, it's
Music
really
is
great.
a really good friend.
So what are you going to play for us next?
All right, I'm going to play a song called The Sound of Moving Water. Ooh. So what you're talking about, since you're talking about the Grand Canyon here and the Colorado River, I feel like sometimes sitting and listening to water pass by has been sort of something I've always wanted to write about, and I finally figured out a way to do it. It's a song about getting older and making peace with it. So, yeah, go like this.
It's nothing like the sound of moving water. It's nothing like the waves across your feet. The whistle of a sycamore in autumn. It's probably gonna outlive you and me. Is that the way? Is that the way? Is that the way you start to feel when you get older? Is that the way? Is that the way? Is that the way you start to feel when you ain't young anymore? There's a river in the chaos of a holiday. There's a sadness in the joy of New Year's Eve. There's a quiet in the noise of the highway. What was lonely then is now a gift, it seems. Is that the way? Is that the way? Is that the way you start to feel when you get older? Is that the way? Is that the way? Is that the way you start to feel when you ain't young anymore? There's a range of separation keeps us moving forward, even though the past is right behind. There's a truth in the frustration keeps us in our corners while the world waits for us to find. That is the way, that is the way. That's the way you start to feel when you get older. That is the way, that is the way. That's the way you start to feel when you ain't young anymore. You ain't young anymore.
Drew Holcomb, our guest for Public Radio Music Day here at the Riverside Revival Studio for WMOT Roots Radio, and it is also Fun Drive. We believe in meaningful music.
Yes, definitely encourage anybody listening to, if you love music and you love new music and you love giving avenues for people to find that new music, and honestly, not just new music, it's old music too. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, good music.
Yeah.
And donate, become a part of the family.
Yep. You can go to WMOT.org, click the donate button, or phone us. Until 7 o'clock, we have operators standing by, 615-898-2800. And I love what you create. I love how you craft lyrics. They just seem so visual and,
Yeah, thank you.
Placed perfectly. I don't know how you do that. How do you do that?
I don't know how I do it. I collect words and phrases. I've listened well to other great artists that I love. I mean, John Prine interviewed one time, and he said that he likes to go and take a newspaper and try to find 40 words or something, 30 words, and not even necessarily reading the article, just trying to find the words. And then Jeff Tweedy says he takes pages and collects words and phrases on the left side and fills it up, and then uses the right side to put it all together like they're little puzzle pieces. I do a lot of that, and then, but one of the things I loved about Tom Petty was I feel like for a lot of his songs you could take each individual sentence, pull it aside out of a song, and it made some kind of sense on its own. just as a little single line lyric. It evoked a phrase or a feeling or like every line is like a photograph.
Yeah, visual.
You know, and then another one of my favorites is David Gray. I always felt like he did a great job of taking these words and singing them in such a way that you felt like you were sort of swimming in the sentence. You know, I don't know what I'm doing, but I just like it, so I keep doing it.
How do you know when a song is done?
I'm not a perfectionist, so I tend to sort of get pretty happy with a song and say, all right, it is what it is. Let's go in the studio and see what happens.
Let it fly.
Let it fly. Yeah, yeah. If I was an adult bird, I would be the one who sort of maybe push the birdie off the limb a little bit. You got this. Come on. You know, those are my songs. They're fine. They'll find themselves.
What I also really love about, connecting that to the live music realm is that when you initially write a song, maybe it hasn't even exposed itself totally to you.
Absolutely.
But then as you play it over the months, it solidifies and, it kind of takes a life of its own. It tells you what it wants to be.
I kind of tell young artists that like music making is sort of a 3-act play. The first act is the writing, and the second act is recording, where you get in the studio and you have these great musicians, and all of a sudden they go, oh, what if we did this? We changed the tempo and we went to this sort of drum phrasing and this sort of tone on your vocal. And then that's act 2, which is really cool, and it's going to be really intimidating and hard. And then act 3 is like taking the song on the road, like you're saying. And all of a sudden the audience might reinvent the song as well, or the band reinvents it on the road. I mean, there've definitely been times where a song has sort of like morphed on the road, and I go, man, I really wish we could go back and add that thing that we do now to the recording. But again, it's a moment in time. Nothing's perfect, and that's part of the beauty of the whole play,
And I love also having those synapses burned in my brain from listening to recorded music.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. I mean, Jerry Jeff, famously incorporated the audience response into several of his songs, which wasn't planned initially. But,
I love that.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So you've got a date coming up in May. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about that?
Sure. Well, we've been very fortunate to sort of build a little bit of a tradition of playing the Ryman every year. And it's sort of become this early May, May, June time. We did 2 shows this year, 2 shows 2 years ago, and 1 year before that. And so we're going to kind of try to make it an annual thing. And so we're doing Ellie and I are going to do a show at the Ryman on a Saturday night. And we haven't announced it yet, but we'll do a Friday night show too.
You have announced it.
Oops, I have announced it. I don't know when we're going to technically announce that, but so we're gonna try to make that kind of a thing. It's been fun. People love to travel here to see shows.
Oh, for sure. It's an event.
It's an event. Yeah,
totally. And that's so great. I mean, the Ryman's lineup these days, as I referenced earlier, is so many people that we love playing the stage, and they're all different. I mean, it's not like monotone kind of situation.
Not at all. Yeah, my favorite sort of Ryman memory as a fan, one of my favorites, is that back-to-back nights I went to see with Ellie Death Cab for Cutie, and then the next night we saw Christofferson solo acoustic. And you couldn't have had at the Death Cab show, we felt like we were the oldest people in the room. And at the Christofferson show, we were definitely the youngest people in the room. We were probably 30, 35 at the time. And 2 completely different shows. One, massive production and band and lights. And then Christofferson, 1 light on him, 1 guitar, microphone, and a guitar line. Played 2 hours. And the only words he said to the crowd after every song, thank you. And I was like, this is what I want to do when I grow up.
What a joy to have seen Christofferson, especially like that. Yeah. I have memories of seeing Prine at the Ryman that were similar, that were just, they elevated everybody in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Patty Griffin there multiple times, Prine, Christofferson, Tom Waits. I was at that show. Just like that place. Flaming Lips. Ellie, my wife, was at the Coldplay show in 2003. Just like, what are we doing? This place is awesome.
I just
Dolly
saw
Parton
Squeeze.
There.
I saw
really?
Squeeze there a couple of weeks,
months
or so ago.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
Talk about walking on that stage and experiencing the meaning of this temple.
Yeah. Well, I have a good friend. His name's Bear Reinhardt. He's got two bands that people know pretty well. One's called Need to Breathe, and one's called Wilder Woods. And he has been a bit of an older brother figure to me. Took us on the road, shared us with his fans back when we didn't have a lot of our own. And so when we played the Ryman the first time, he said, "I'm coming." You know, brought him backstage before the thing, and right before I went on stage, they had played the Ryman by this point 4 or 5 times themselves. And he grabbed me by the shoulders and he goes, "Hey, let the show come to you." And I was like, okay, that feels like a great. So I went out on stage, and the first 5 seconds, I think everybody knew how much it meant to me. The crowd really knew. And so they gave us sort of a really long ovation as we came on stage. And instead of, jumping right into the song and starting the show, I just told the band, let's just take it in, This is crazy. I can't believe we got to this place in our career. And, so that set the tone for the show, letting it come to us. And a lot of fans will ask me, like our friends, why is the Ryman so special? And I said, well, it's obviously the history, and it's mainly the sort of the good ghosts, in the room. And it's also a great sounding room. But really, what happens there, I tell people the reason you want to see one of your favorite acts at the Ryman or at Red Rocks or at the Troubadour, in these magical historical places, is because the artists are sort of carrying the weight of history on their shoulders that night, and they want to honor that. And you get that as a fan. You can feel that in the room versus just playing, any old House of Blues in whatever place, which those are fine too, and you do your best for your crowd every night. But then there's special nights, and Ryman always does that. So that's what it's like for me when we get to do that. The strangest one, though, is we did a show coming out of COVID-21, which was socially distanced, and so we played to like 400 people in the Ryman. They were all spread out with masks on, It was live streamed, and it was really like a bizarre experience to be in basically an empty Ryman. But those 400 people absolutely brought it because they were so thrilled to be in there. Because tickets went on sale, and they snapped up in a heartbeat. So that was our most strange night at the Ryman, but then we've had so many other, wonderful times there.
So great.
Yeah.
Would you play another song for us?
I would love to, yeah. I'll play this song that's been played a lot by public radio all around the country. Our first number one on Americana radio. I'm going to tune, though, real quick, just because this guy got a little sharp on me in the last song. I think your radio audience would appreciate it being in tune. It's not just that one, is it? Well, my guitar player always says that 30 seconds of awkward tuning is better than 3.5 minutes of an out-of-tune guitar.
And while you're doing that, I will remind people you can call us with your donation at 615-898-2800 or go online and click the donate button at WMOT.org. It's Fun Drive as we get to bring it to you. Drew Holcomb.
Yep. This is a song about it's called Find Your People, and it's a song about finding your people, which sometimes you can do in a place like listening to music you love on the radio. So I'll dedicate this one to all you guys out there listening to WMOT.
You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you wanna stay up with all night. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control. The ones that don't let you lose your soul. You gotta find your people, the ones that get the joke, who understand what you're saying before a word is spoke. You gotta find your people that put the needle in the groove. When you're together, you got nothing to prove. When you're together, you got nothing to lose. In a world full of strangers, you don't know who to trust. All you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. Can't go it alone, everybody needs help. gotta find your people, then you find yourself. You gotta find your people that'll call your bluff, who will ride along when the road is rough. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel equal. They pick you up and don't put you down. They help you find your way in the lost and found. In a world full of strangers you don't know to trust, all you see is danger, trying to find what you lost. You can't go it alone, everybody needs help. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. The ones that understand you, the ones that lend a hand to you, the ones that don't demand anything from you. You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel all right, tell you the truth and wish you well. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. You gotta find your people, then you find yourself. You gotta find your people. You gotta find your people. You gotta find your people.
Drew Holcomb, our guest for Public Radio Music Day. I love that song.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I love that these are songs you can share with your kids that are positive and kind of give them an insight into how to live. And
Yeah, it's a little bit of a, I thought for a while when I was a kid I was going to be a preacher. And instead I became a musician and songwriter. And so it's always been a little bit of me preaching to myself. You know, people say, is this song inspirational or like, is that what you have or what you want? You know, and so well, it's sometimes a little bit of both. Yeah.
it's a beautiful way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And we love that you came and played for us for Wired In.
Yeah.
Of course, we want to remind people that Wired In is one of the levels you can come in on. It's $20 a month. We offer 2 tickets to our concert series every single month. And
Did I hear you say earlier that Amethyst is coming?
Amethyst is coming in December.
Yeah, everybody, you need to get on that.
It's Amethyst and Ron Pope.
Oh wow, that'll be a great show.
Yeah, December 11th, and Mindy Smith and Ray Benson coming in January.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very
that's
cool.
January 8th. Yeah.
And Mindy's finally putting out some
Finally,
new music
we're so
again.
happy to have new music from her. It's been a while.
It has been a long time.
And, we have been playing, Come to Jesus from the start of WMOT's Roots Radio 8 years ago,
Yeah, it's a classic.
But it's great to be able to,
good
and
for her.
Jolene, too. We play her version
Yeah.
of Jolene. But, yeah, it's just been amazing amassing this library that's growing, beyond 15,000 songs now. And we're always like kind of getting word about somebody else that we need to dig deep into their catalog, and start bringing them forward as well. And, to be able to nurture youngins and,
Well, it's even good for me. I mean, I sometimes get stuck listening to the same music over and over again. And I find new music listening to you guys too. So I'm not just telling other people to do something, I'm doing it myself.
Thank you. We should have stock in Shazam.
You really should. Yes, for sure.
People tell us all the time, I was in
listening.
my driveway.
Yeah. I literally did that
needed
15
to
minutes
get in
before we
the
got on
house.
the air, listening to the Biscuit song. I was like, that's a great song. What is that?
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah.
brand new.
Yeah, really
Jordy
good.
Lane.
Yeah, fantastic
So cool.
song.
So yeah, we have our ear to the ground. Bring us new music. We love hearing from people and getting to sample things and just you never know where it's going to come from, and sometimes it comes through Facebook and sometimes random. I could see somebody in the airport in Dallas playing and take a picture of their card by their guitar case and go search them out and see what's going on with them.
Yep.
So it comes from every direction, and we love being able to do that. That's part of our job, to create community and keep the music alive and fresh and interesting and keep moving it down the field some. And thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor. Yeah.
Drew Holcomb for Public Radio Music Day for WMOT Roots Radio. We'll see you back here tomorrow. I'm taking off, going to get some dinner.
Me too.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.